cookout clash at Bowman Gray just happened, and by just happened, I mean Sunday. And we were both there to witness it from two different perspectives. I was in the grandstands, and Czech was a media member.
That was fun.
Yeah,
that was really fun.
I agree.
So, like, initial thoughts, you are someone that was at LA a couple years ago.
I was not.
I thought you were.
But he was.
I thought you went with him.
No.
Okay. Compare the two from your perspective, then. What did you like? From what best you can, what do you think?
From my perspective, as far as the racing goes, I think the racing was significantly better at Bowman Gray than it was at LA, and there's some obvious reasons for that. The track was just, the corners were a lot wider, and it just allowed more room, which allowed these guys to get after a bit more without always overstepping it completely. I thought it was really fun. It showed probably I think it showcased probably the best aspect of the next gen car, which is that you can really use it. So I think that was fun. It wasn't perfect, but I think it was a great event.
Yeah, I think I interviewed Ross afterwards, and he brought the point up that at LA every year they laid brand new asphalt.
Yeah.
And obviously with these cars, brand new asphalt is not what you want. And I noticed something actually looking at, I think it was the Victory Lane photos of Chase's car today. It kind of had the same rubber residue buildup on it that the Martinsville cars did from the fall, which I know he had a
tire, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But he had a white race car, so it helps. But
yeah,
I mean, the asphalt, while it doesn't look that bad at Bowman Gray, it's old.
Yeah.
So it does chew the tires. And I think that played into the excitement and the chaos. And something I want to bring up is that there's a double standard here, but it's an okay double standard, in my opinion, because here's being weird. I think the double standard is the idea of what happened right now. I don't know how many days from now you'll see this, but what happened Sunday night was essentially the same thing that happened or was supposed to happen in LA.
Yeah.
But not everybody, but a large majority of the fan base hated it in LA, and the drivers hated it in LA. And I think that's because the fans there, it's totally different. You're trying to cater to a new fan base with an old style of racing, rather than a fan base that lives for it. Like, you go to LA and everybody's like, oh my God, we drove all the way across the country for a non-points race just to run each other over for a race that doesn't even matter. This sucks. In contrast, the double standard is at Bowman Gray. That's not just like, I was talking to somebody about it earlier. It's expected. And if you don't race that way there, you're wrong. Like, yeah, it's accepted there. It's expected there. So the fact that it happened, nobody has any problem with it, because that's what the idea of racing there is all about. You're not blowing a bunch of money to go across the country and do something that you could do right there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, there was a night and day difference between the way the drivers, the teams and drivers reacted to this than they did for LA. I think racing wise, I just think it made more sense for the reasons you mentioned, but also there's natural boundaries at Bowman Gray that didn't exist at LA. Like, we had guys just like driving all the way up under what was supposed to be the racetrack, because instead of putting a curb there or something, we put these shitty rumble strips down, and it didn't do anything. And I think that hurt the racing in general too. And then also, yeah, and I think the biggest mistake with the LA thing, not even in anything they actually did with LA, but you go through all this trouble to do this thing, you're trying to break into a new market, I get all that, and then you get rid of the racetrack closest to it. So
yeah,
what did you gain from it with all the money that was spent on NASCAR's end, on the team's end? What did you get out of it? The closest track to them now is like 4 hours away, right? Sonoma? It's like 4 hours?
Sonoma or Phoenix? Probably Phoenix.
Yeah. And
actually, Phoenix or Vegas is actually probably closer than Sonoma is. But either way,
Yeah.
you essentially gain nothing until they finally, possibly, maybe in some alternate universe, finish the Auto Club short track. And then by that time, the progress that you made was half a decade ago. So what does it really matter? And you know that I think something that we need to point out is that while both tracks were quarter miles, the dimensions of the tracks are totally different.
Yeah.
Because LA was essentially a couple of drag strips with the tightest possible corner you can make. Bowman Gray, it's wider. The corners are. It was wider on the straights, but the corners are longer at Bowman Gray.
Yeah.
So you can't just like drive it straight off in there and then slam the brakes and then 180, because that's not how you. It races like a racetrack, not a makeshift racetrack.
Yeah,
there's a big difference.
You had to actually have some finesse to drive around Bowman Gray. If you'd have if you'd have done what you did at LA at Bowman Gray, then yeah, you would have wrecked it coming up off the corner, first of all. And we saw guys try and do that a lot. Turn 2, I saw a bunch of guys get squirrely. Turn 4 was treacherous for some guys. Guys were bouncing up all the way down the front stretch and all this. The track had character. That was a huge part of it too. The issue with having to pave your track every year, while outside of the cost ineffectiveness of it, it didn't allow the track to have any character in it at all. And that was a detriment. So
yeah, and then I think even at Bowman Gray too, there's the unique features of the stadium walls stick out.
Yeah.
So the entrance to 3 and the exit of 4 are tighter than the entrance to 1 and the exit of 2. And you've got there's no inside wall, it's grass, but there's storm drains down there. The guys tried to use them in practice, and they found out really quick that it does not work like a curve.
That's what hurt.
They will help you turn. They will help you turn very well. And
that's what hurt Kyle Larson
way.
in his fucking. He kept trying to use them, and I'm like, brother, get up off the thing.
This is not North Wilkesboro. You cannot do that. Hey, he does that everywhere though. So. He struck out one time. His batting average is still pretty good.
But like the 7th lap in a row, it doesn't work. At some point, you got to admit that it's not working, right?
Nobody ever said he wasn't stubborn.
This is true.
I mean, he used the apron that nobody else used at Wilkesboro. He used the wall at the Chili Bowl. He had to strike out eventually.
Yeah, this is true. You bring up a great point there.
So how about Hendrick Motorsports' absolutely god-awful showing while we're on the topic of Kyle Larson?
God-awful for 3 quarters, and then the other one just mollywopped him.
Right?
It's so...
I don't even know what to make of it.
Well, it's so odd, too, because the 3 of them that weren't Kyle Larson on Saturday were really good. Like, I expected all of them to be up there, to be completely honest. And then... Sunday rolls around and Kyle looks good in the LCQ and destroyed the fucking race car. So I was surprised. He even got to start the feature after that thing. But I mean, it looked like they did a pretty good job fixing it, to be honest. But yeah, I didn't know what to make out of the 24 and the 4. Well, okay, the 48. And they are so hit and miss that it's not that surprising. Well, so is the 24. I don't know. Maybe Hendrick Motorsports' driver lineup just isn't as strong as we think it is.
I mean, I saw somebody.
That is. Let me clarify. That is an early season overreaction that I'm using somewhat hyperbolically. But
save the date. Seth said Hendrick Motorsports driver lineup sucks.
Fuck it. Might as well.
I mean, no, it's kind of weird though because you got 3 of them. Now, Kyle Larson did hit everything but the pace car. He might have hit it back in the pits. I don't know. I didn't see. But he hit basically everything in the LCQ. But the 3 of them sucked for lack of better explanation in the main. And then Chase led 171 of 200 laps.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, look, people might say Blaney had the best car. I think Chase had the best car. Like the way... Him and Ryan were probably, they were the 2 best cars, but they were that close.
Yeah.
But the difference was the place that Chase was better than Ryan mattered more than where Ryan was better than Chase. Ryan was better, like entrance to the center and Chase was better on exit.
Yeah.
Well, the place you need to be best at to keep yourself from getting past is exit, so the guy can't get to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made the difference.
Yeah, and you could see Ryan knew that, and he was trying to maximize his entry and center of the corner, and it killed him on exit a lot of the time.
Yeah.
He was bogging down really bad off four for a lot of that last run. And it was just clear. And it's not like it's something that Ryan, I think, in that moment could have changed, because if he backs up his entry, if he doesn't have the exit speed, then it's not going to help him. He's just going to lose ground. So the only thing Ryan could have done, or the only thing that could have helped Ryan in this case, I think, would have been a caution. And even then, probably not, unless he wanted to move the 9 car, which he said was not really going to be a good idea, which I think he would have been fine, to be completely honest. Ryan Blaney's pretty popular, but it would have been a war. It could have been a war in the grandstands, maybe, which would have been pretty fun to an unbiased observer.
That's not like that uncommon there. You act like this isn't like it would have been an anomaly.
I'm not saying it would have been an anomaly. I'm just saying
it would have been a weekly show.
Well, I mentioned that because I don't remember, actually, for one of the few times in my life since Ryan Blaney, one of the few times I've been to a racetrack since Ryan Blaney's been in the Cup Series, I don't remember seeing that many Ryan Blaney fans. I saw a lot of Chase Elliott fans. I don't remember seeing a lot of Ryan Blaney fans, which is fairly uncommon.
Yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
That's odd.
Yeah, I mean,
especially because he's like kind of from that area.
Yeah, pretty much. High Point's not too far away,
right down the road.
I don't know if I just missed it, but I definitely saw a lot of Chase Elliott. I definitely saw a lot of Kyle Larson, and I don't remember seeing a lot of Ryan Blaney fans in the stands. So I could be wrong on that. I know my brother was one of them, but outside of that, I didn't notice a whole lot of them.
Well, in case you've been not listening or living under a rock, Chase Elliott won the Clash over Ryan Blaney. But the race as a whole, what did you think of the product from start to finish? Was there any other events that stood out to you?
From start to finish, we
can even do the LCQ, because the LCQ was its
I
own.
am referring when I say from start to finish, I mean the LCQ through to the main, and I had a great time with it. I don't know how else better to put it. I just think it was just a grand time to watch a race that doesn't mean anything, and you can have a lot of fun with it. You're not sitting there like watching your guy get wrecked a couple times and like distraught about it. For me, it's just like, okay, it happened. It's fine. It's whatever. Like, it was fun. And I don't particularly like Chase Elliott. I don't hate him necessarily like I may have used to, but it didn't bother me that he won. It wouldn't have bothered. It was if Blaney had gotten there and they'd gotten roughing it up a little bit, I think it would have been more fun. But the only thing that irked me was, I think clearly Chevrolet did everything in their power. Like, every Chevy was on board with making sure the 9 car won. And then Ford didn't play that game. That's the way it looked to me. It looked to me like the Chevys would dive out of the way of Chase and then stick their ass right in front of Ryan Blaney for a corner. Maybe I'm on needle or on edge after Martinsville, but that's exactly what it looked like to me. I don't know.
I'm not gonna say I didn't see it. I mean, I watched most of it from the media center. Normally, we have 2 media members at the racetrack for front stretch, and I get a better feel of what's going on when I can go out and see it. I've always been that way. That's what I do at short tracks. That's what I do at most NASCAR races. But being the only one, NASCAR limited everybody to 1 per outlet, and you had to go through the garage. The media center was in the field house. You had to go through the garage, like kind of around the grandstands, up behind the tower is where you came out.
Yeah. And
it was just too inconvenient. Like, if somebody wrecked, then I had to be back down in the pits. I didn't want to keep running back and forth.
They wouldn't let you watch from that perch over there, or
the balcony had reserved for like a club suite or something.
Okay.
which is something. This is a really minor first world problem, but it would be cool if there was somewhere that the media member, like an easier access point for the media members to like see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because in the media center, we had like zero view of the racetrack, and you had to go all the way around to get any of it. So that would be cool. But again, that's a first world problem. I think as a whole,
so
there were a lot of people.
Real quick, you were relying on the Fox broadcast.
So it's really confusing, actually. So there's four. This is like basically every media center.
Yeah.
They have the TV broadcast, and they also have the track feed.
Okay.
So the track feed is typically one camera.
Yeah.
So at Bowman Gray, it was the camera up top of the tower that just panned around.
Yeah.
Didn't switch cameras. It really didn't come off of the battle for the lead ever, which is fine because Fox loves to come off the battle of the lead and show crowd shots.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen any of that, but I saw plenty of that.
In the 9-minute highlight reel, they did that at least twice. I'm like,
when Chase and Reddick and Denny were battling for the lead, literally Denny's about to complete the pass on Chase, and they cut away to the crowd, and I'm like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Show me. Us, the media members, need to see what is happening, at least for and I'm sure the fans would love to know what just happened.
Yeah.
Maybe you should show the product on the track and not Billy Bob in the stands, which I'm sure there was plenty of people named Billy Bob at Bowman Gray. I act like I'm hating on Bowman Gray. I love Bowman Gray. I'm from the area. So I don't take it like that. But that's not what we want to see on the television broadcast. He doesn't want to be on TV. He's there to watch what's in front of him. Maybe the people that weren't fortunate enough to go would like to see it too.
Yeah, never in my life as a fan watching on TV have I ever been like, this racing's pretty good, but I'd really love to see what the front stretch grandstands look like right now.
I know.
Like that shot is cool when you're coming to a restart and you pan out from the grandstands to the restart. That's cool.
That's the only time it should be used ever.
During the fucking race, keep the camera on the racetrack. Fox. Don't understand.
Talking to you specifically, Fox, because you are the biggest culprit. But as a whole, I think there were a lot of people skeptical about this because there was a sentiment of, oh, you pulled out of LA to come do the same thing at a place that's got a reputation. Well, I think the reputation actually
made the event.
Made the event. Like it helped the event live up to the hype that the Clash is supposed to have.
Yeah.
As a whole, it was really fun to cover. There was never a dull moment, and as a short track person, that was the closest I've ever felt to home at a NASCAR event. Like I felt like I was covering a short track race with the biggest names in the sport. So it was really cool for me. And I watched until Kyle Busch spun from up top. I found a little spot where I could peek over and see. And I have to remind myself sometimes not to take the position I'm in for granted, right? Like I do it so often that I have to remind myself that it's a privilege to do what I do. And then I stand out there and I watch driver intros for that. And I watch that flyover was incredible. Yeah. Like that was so cool. It just got everybody even more excited than they already were. I've never seen a flyover like that. I was like, whoa, look at that. That's cool. Yeah. It moments like that is when it reminds you like, yeah, this is really cool. And this is why I love this sport is atmospheres like this. And then you got Ricky Stenhouse, who made 30,000 new friends because Burt Myers wrecked himself off his nose. But it doesn't matter because if you touched Burt Myers, it's your fault at Bowman Gray. So I didn't see it, but I heard that Ricky made a lot of new friends.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look, there was 30,000 people that thought he was the best person there. They did this to him.
Exactly. It was just it was friendly, man. That's all it is.
until they pan. Like, I don't know if you've seen this. They pan to the crowd. You could like visually see the crowd uttering the worst possible things at Ricky's house. Things I'm not gonna say.
Yeah. I know that I was like, I like Ricky but this is Bowman Gray. So when in Rome, I will participate in this
It's ritual.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. A ritual. No, I think it was awesome.
It added to the event as a whole, though, because it's like,
right,
we got a surefire first ballot Hall of Fame Bowman Gray moment right in the fucking middle of it.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? Chase made a really good comment about it in his press conference. He said it reaffirmed the belief that less is more. Because that crowd was better than 90,000 in LA ever could have been.
Yeah.
And it's 20,000 people. I don't know if you know this or not. I'm sure you do. 40% of the tickets were reserved for people living in the Triad area.
Yeah, I heard, I think Mike Joyce said it on the thing or at the end or something. But yeah.
It was like 40%. I assume they had to fill out a proof of residency form to qualify for those. That's what we had to do for Wilkesboro the first year.
I don't know.
The other 60.
Technically, am I just outside the Triad? No, actually, never mind. I am in the Triad. So, and I got mine on pre-sale, and they never asked me if I was.
It was probably a program. They probably like sold 60%, and there was probably a way for people living in the area to apply. That's how it was for Wilkesboro. That first year, they had a set number of tickets for Wilkes County residents, and I found out about it because I have people in Wilkes County. I'm just below it.
Yeah.
But the other 60%, they said 44 states. I believe it was 7 countries and 3 continents. So,
yeah,
pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. I'm happy this event happened. I would like it to come back at least one time.
So do I'll talk about that.
Let's go ahead and talk about it. A stern bomb came out, right? It was a stern bomb about an hour before the LCQ started about NASCAR trying to get this event in Brazil next year, which I think I don't know, did last year when they were talking about doing that, was the location ever solidified? I can't remember. Was it always Brazil? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Brazil.
Was it? Okay. Either way, it was always going to be international.
Interlagos, if they race in Brazil.
Probably, yeah. Would be my guess. So I'm cool with that theoretically, but we definitely need to keep this either A, in rotation, or B, just come back next year and then we can do that. That's where I'm at with it.
So this conversation started last night amongst the industry, because you had Fox's broadcasts where I think it was Harvick said something about taking it internationally. And then Jamie Mack was like, hold up, we need to invest in the short track. So it started a discussion. I've been going scorched shirts about it on Twitter today. I've had some fun with it. But there are 2 distinct paths that I think are both beneficial for the future of this event, and I will throw in the All-Star race. On one hand, okay, first of all, I'm just going to get this out of the way. For the section of nutsacks that keep saying we need to go back to Daytona, shut the fuck up.
Yes.
You are never going to find, out of my generation, someone who loves the traditional ways of NASCAR more than me. I'm wearing a Make Short Tracks Great Again hat. It's stupid. Plate race, it is not what Daytona now is not what you clowns loved about Daytona 30 years ago. It's a shit show. We race these tracks 6 times a year. We don't need to go wreck a bunch of cars at a super speedway race for a 7th time. That doesn't mean anything.
That no one shows up to either.
Exactly. Nobody shows up. They ride around on a train for 90% of the race, and then they wreck the dog shit out of each other, and they go, this sucks. Why do we do it? And then as soon as we stop doing it, and I'm talking about the drivers and the fans, then as soon as we stop doing it, the fans are like, oh my God, we need it back. We gotta glorify Daytona and put it on a pedestal. You want to do that? Give the Daytona Oval 1 race a year and make it the 500. That's how you do that, but that's a tangent for another day. Had to get that.
Are you sure you're not me? Like, I've made that. You sound exactly like me. It's incredible. I've been arguing.
Hey, I learned from the best. No,
I can't take that much credit. But I have been arguing for one Daytona Oval a year. It'd be like if we ran the fucking Indy 500 and then 6 months later, come back and run a 400 miler. It'd be stupid. No one would show up, and it would be the dumbest thing ever. Yes,
and
100%.
The legitimacy and prestige of the 500 shrinks every year. But again, conversation for another day.
And if you fix your package, you could make it like a fucking 2-week event if you wanted. But whatever.
The 2 distinct paths that NASCAR has in front of them is paramount to invest in not just new markets, but international markets. So you have that on one hand. Because like it or not, there's a section of the old guard, I'm sure, that doesn't want to hear that. But the fact is, the NFL is proof that it works. NASCAR fans do not just live in America. Yes. There is a worldwide fan base,
especially now,
that would love one time to see their favorite drivers race. On the other hand, it is equally as important to invest in the foundation and the roots of the sport in America's short tracks, which is what we did this weekend. Luckily for NASCAR, they have 2 non-points exhibition races on their calendar. And to me, it's very clear what they should do with each one. I'm about to go on a tangent. So if you want to say something now, Seth, I'll give you the floor.
Well, I guess as far as the international thing goes, we've got Mexico now. We need to do everything we can to get into Montreal, I think. A, it would be a good race with the next gen car, I think. It kind of plays to its strengths. And B, Canada is a fucking market we need to get into. We were there and then we left for no reason. So we need to do that. We literally have a whole other fucking fan base now down under New Zealand, Australia area. Would be great to find a way to get your foot in the door over there. That'd be huge. And then that's pretty much it. I will let you go on your tangent now.
All right. So I'm gonna start with the short track part first. So I will say this. Most of the short tracks that would love to have the investment in this country are in climates that are too cold to race in February. Keep that in mind. I'm not going to use Canada because Canada's really not that much of a logistical issue.
No.
Mexico is on the fringe of it. And then places beyond Mexico would be logistical nightmares to try and do in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
You use those 2 pieces of information, and you should use the Clash to expand to new markets to start your season, and you should use the All-Star race to help the grassroots section of our sport survive. Wilkesboro has done more than enough to earn their spot back as a points-paying race.
Yeah.
What we just did with Bowman Gray, I'll start with this. What we just did with Bowman Gray this weekend should be used as the blueprint for the All-Star race going forward forever. You take a group of short tracks. They can apply to be in this if they want to. But I'm just going to list a couple. Stafford, South Boston, Five Flags, New Smyrna, Hickory come to mind. Put their names in a hat. You draw a name. That track gets a 2-year contract to host the All-Star race. NASCAR does their part. They go in, they give them the new catch fences, they give them the new seating if they need it, new press boxes. Hickory could use all of this. Safer barriers, everything that is needed for that track to survive another 2 decades. And possibly host Truck Series races or ARCA races, which is what those schedules should get back to. And by doing that, you invest in the foundation and the roots of their sport that have given you so much by giving you the drivers that now go out and race for you on Sunday, because those tracks raise those drivers for you. And you turn around and you put the money back into those places so that they can keep supplying you with more drivers. It's the perfect way to give back to a section of our sport that has begun to get forgotten and is quickly falling into a depression. And that's why we see tracks like Irwindale and Myrtle Beach and plenty of dirt tracks like East Bay fall by the wayside. Rockford, for example. Those places need help. And the All-Star Race is a perfect way to do something like we did with Bowman Gray and ensure that they're going to be around for years to come. So what do we do with the Clash? You could take the Clash to Brazil. You could take the Clash to London. You could take the Clash to Germany. You could take the Clash to Japan. And I had a great idea actually today when I was discussing this with someone else. It costs a lot of money to transport 36 chartered teams overseas. Mexico is one thing. It's already got to cost them a lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
It's exponentially more to start transporting equipment overseas. So what do? Because it's not cost effective to make all 36 chartered teams compete. I think you use that event, and there's things that are going to have to be worked out. This is just a pipe dream. Use that event and you make it your own endurance style race. Say we go to Brazil. Each team brings one car for 4 drivers. So Joe Gibbs Racing's driver lineup is Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, and Denny Hamlin. You make it an 8-hour race. Each driver runs a 2-hour stint. So what do? Penske, they've only got Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and Austin Cindric. Who's going to fill their 4th? Well, guess what? Well, Josh Berry, or people keep wanting all of these other drivers to come in and try NASCAR. What if Will Power wants to run it? Now, all of a sudden, you've included a whole nother section of motorsports that's like, hey, I don't even care where they're racing. I'm going to watch it because my favorite IndyCar driver is running a NASCAR race. And now these fans in international markets are all of a sudden, they're not just getting to see NASCAR drivers, they're getting to see IndyCar drivers. RCR wants to run Will Brown in one of their 2-hour stints. Awesome. They're getting to see a supercar driver that's never going to be in Brazil otherwise.
Yeah.
And that way you save the team's money by them not having to trek 4 race cars down there with 2 backups. Instead, they're trekking 1 with 1 backup. That's 2 race cars. And they can run an 8-hour show, and you can make it a full weekend-long event for people to come and enjoy NASCAR and everything that comes with it, while also saving the team's money and making something that's unique. And it would get a lot of views because we've never done anything like it before. I think it's a great idea. Would they ever do it? Probably not. But I think that would be the most efficient and effective way to tap into overseas markets and actually make it worth your while and get return on investment.
I almost think it would make more sense for NASCAR to just pay for it. Pay for the expense to get down there. Not that I necessarily dislike your idea. It just seems far-fetched.
It is. Yeah. It absolutely is. There's things like there's so many things like seats. You have to figure out how the seats would work, which there's plenty of smart engineers in this sport looking for something to do since they can't work on race cars anymore. So by all means, give them something to make their money worthwhile. But continue. Yeah,
but I just think you do something like this. The goal, I mean, ultimately, this is anytime you broaden your reach, you are going to make more money in the long run. And NASCAR, we've seen, has not been very long run focused on anything. We run the races where you don't ever get to a long run, and NASCAR thinks whatever happening right now is the only thing that can be happening. So Yeah. Start looking toward the long run. You're going to need more than just what's in the United States, because I don't know if they noticed or not, there's a lot of shit you can do in the United States. It's like that a lot of the world too, but I'm just going with what I know. And you can go choose to do any number of things on a Sunday that are not NASCAR, that are not racing. So you're going to need to broaden your reach at some point, and that's the best way to do it, is bring people there. You can show people NASCAR on TV all you want, and as I've learned as someone who's brought people to the race for the first time, it doesn't compare. Like, I know
Not
it
even
doesn't
close.
compare, but I've forgotten almost that it doesn't compare, because my brain can fill in the gaps in what TV's doing because I've seen it for real enough. People who've not been there don't know. And even then, like, even if you've been to another type of racing, I don't know. No other race car I've heard is as loud and guttural as a Cup car comparatively to an open wheel car or whatever. That's a big part of the thing, is you literally feel it when it goes by. I don't feel an Indy car when it goes by. Is that necessarily a negative? No, but if the only thing you've ever seen is an Indy car and then you go see a NASCAR race, that is going to stick out to you.
Yeah. It's part of the experience.
Yeah.
And that's why people harp on it so much. Like, I think there's a group of people that don't understand why NASCAR fans care about the cars being loud.
Yeah.
It's because that's part of the experience, and that's part of the tradition that I don't think we should ever go away from.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what can benefit them if they go overseas, because there is nothing like it. And you should not ever be looking to take something unique about your sport up against all other forms of motorsports away.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think you're right. If they're going to make every team go over, they should pay for it. If they really, really, really wanted to get creative, something like the idea I just listed would knock it out of the park. There's literally no way it could fail.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You would be tapping into so many different markets and avenues. It has so much potential. And doing anything overseas and involving drivers that are not normally in the sport has potential.
Yeah.
I
think the only people that wouldn't like it would be Americans. And at that point, it doesn't matter, because that's not who we're trying to get it.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, it bothers me so much. And the conversation I actually had today, they gave me that rebuttal. Like, why don't we just, it baffles me that we have a sport that is so cool, even though it's only raced in America. Well, up until
this year,
that people around the world, despite never having the chance to see anything like it, love it. We have a sport that badass that people who probably will never see anything like it or see it in general are that passionate about it that they find ways to watch every single weekend. And keep in mind, these people are not on our time schedules. They're staying up late hours of the night, early hours in the morning to watch our sport. And we're
on
selfish
Monday
enough
mornings.
that we don't.
On
and
Monday
we're selfish
morning.
enough.
Yeah.
Mondays suck.
Yeah.
Mondays suck in America. Mondays suck in Japan. Mondays suck anywhere on this globe. I promise you.
Yeah.
And these people are passionate enough that they're willing to be dedicated to our sport, and we're so selfish we don't want to share it. Why? It doesn't make any sense.
I'm trying to think. I've met a bunch of people from overseas at the racetrack who came there specifically to watch a race. And sometimes it's at a track where I go, really? You came out here to see this track? But
they have a different perspective on it.
They have a different perspective on it. I brought people to the racetrack. I brought people to two of the worst Martinsville races I've ever been to in my life. And they loved it because they'd never experienced anything like it.
Like, I'll say the same thing, that the past couple Bristol races that we've brought new people to, they've walked out loving it, and you and I are like, what? That sucked ass.
Yeah.
But to them, it's like, holy shit, we're in this 150,000 seat Coliseum and there's race cars going around. This is sick.
Yeah.
Like when you've never seen it before, it's not, oh my God, Phoenix sucks. It's holy shit, I'm in Phoenix at a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
Still shouldn't host a championship race.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. I just like, I want to be clear that the idea of international markets not named Mexico or Canada in the middle of our season does not work. It just, in my opinion, it just isn't feasible.
Unless you had a break period around it, it wouldn't.
And then you have to start shortening the schedule, and
which they should do.
Completely restructuring the schedule, which
they should do.
But we're breaking a lot of barriers here that they don't want to touch. And I wish they would.
Do.
I really wish they would. But the best way to please as many people as you possibly can and keep the structure that we have now is to use the Clash as your international marketing tool. And you can move it. Look, you don't have to run it 2 weeks before Daytona. If you're going to Brazil, you can run it a month before Daytona. We're not going to complain, and the teams aren't either.
I guess at that point you don't.
If you're shortening the schedule, if you shorten the schedule.
Well, that, and also if you're running it outside of the U.S., because initially my first thought when you said that was, oh, you don't want to go up against football playoffs, and I'm like, oh, the TV ratings in America don't matter, really.
Exactly.
Now, will Fox like that? No. Do I care what Fox thinks? No, because they're the worst for NASCAR. Thank God.
Fox hasn't given us any proof that they care about the sport, so I don't really care about their opinion.
No, and I'm really annoyed that NASCAR signed him back on. I know that money is talk. Money talks, but fuck, that was disappointing.
What return on your investment are you getting with a shitty broadcast?
Yeah, I can't imagine much. I don't want to watch Fox broadcasts. It takes everything in me to watch the Daytona 500 broadcast some years because it's terrible. Yeah. It's probably the worst one, to be honest, but
because they just blab about.
Well, that it's like every piece of information Fox gives almost is the most basic shit that you can figure out by just paying attention. Again, I equate this back to when I started watching hockey. The broadcast didn't over-explain everything. They had enough respect for my intelligence that they figured that I would figure it out. And I did. And if I didn't understand something and I really needed to know it right now, I fucking Googled it. Like, it wasn't that hard. I was like, hey, what is this? And it was like, oh, that. Okay, cool. I get
it. Yeah.
If you want to know,
when they talk to you like you're a baby.
Yeah. I don't talk to my nephew like the way Fox talks to us on the TV broadcast.
Seth's nephew is a baby.
He is a baby, and I don't understand a thing he says, but even I don't talk to him like that.
Maybe it's just because you don't speak his language.
Sure, but like...
He might be ripping you a new one. You don't even know.
He might. I don't know. We'll find out. One day I'll start understanding him, and I'll be like, you're just a little asshole, aren't you?
You should go work for Fox.
You'll fit right in over there.
Oh, God. Oh, but yeah. Long story short,
don't get him anywhere near there because mid-race they just cut to a shot of him picking his nose or some shit. Anyway,
yeah. Long story short, they should use the Clash as their international marketing tool, and they should use the All-Star race as their investment into short track racing.
And above all else, get Northwooks for a points race, please, for the love of God.
Yes, because it deserves it.
Yes.
Absolutely deserves it.
And it doesn't work as the All-Star race venue as well, in my opinion.
Well,
I think having
I think it does.
or maybe not as the venue, but as the actual race, it's like having only half the cars out there takes away a lot. So,
and that's another thing, by the way.
That's the thing that works at
you
Bowman
are right
Gray.
about that. That's the thing that would work about having the All-Star race at short tracks.
Yeah.
Because if you run 20 cars at Hickory, you run, Five Flags is a bit different because Five Flags is big, but it would still be cool to do.
Yeah.
They're closer together, so it doesn't matter as much. I want to give a quick shout out to my favorite. I don't think this isn't going to be like a regular show we do, as far as I know. So we're not going to have like awards or anything. But I certainly want to give a shout out to. I think Seth will agree with me. My favorite dumbass, Brian Murphy.
Yes.
So last night, Landon Huffman. I'm reading this off my phone. Last night, Landon Huffman, long story short, said exactly what I said about the short track stuff, except he was saying they should use it for the Clash. I thought about it a little more. I think it makes more sense as the All-Star race, but I digress. Same thing.
Yeah.
Brian Murphy comments to Landon Huffman's post and says, I'm sure Hickory management would love to chili dip off such an opportunity. Landon says, every short track struggling to make it would be stupid not to. So yeah, I'm sure. And Brian says a single weekend of Cup Series involvement won't overcome piss poor management. It's not worth the investment. Landon said, you're so incredibly wrong, but not surprised. You're right, Brian. Giving them millions of dollars worth of investment and upgrades, it's just going to go by the wayside after one weekend because, their management is somehow going to rip the upgrades out of the facility. So then last night, later on, he tweets, NASCAR fans are so smart these days, it's hard to believe there's a workforce shortage within the industry. And yet we got people like your dumbass who think we shouldn't invest in the short tracks of our sport because you don't like the management. That's the pot calling the kettle black, dummy.
Yeah.
You can't take a shot at NASCAR fans being so smart when your dumbass just said we shouldn't invest in the roots of our sport. Great job. You got another one.
Brian Murphy, have a good take challenge. Impossible.
I'm sorry. That is just the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Because you're right. One guy that ruffles feathers. I'm not going to say he's great at his job. I'm not going to say the name. Because I disagree with a lot of the things he does. But that one guy does not overcome half a century worth of history at a racetrack. More than that. So, yeah, you're an idiot, pal. That's all I got.
Yeah. Well put. All right. The actual, I guess we sort of did this already, but the actual event. What did we think of the individual heat races? I think two of them, in my eyes, were pretty good. And the other two were a little lackluster, but that's the way she goes sometimes.
So I'm a really bad person to ask because I was trying to get interviews after heats. Well, I saw all of heat one. Boy, was that entertaining.
Yeah. Heat one was probably the best one. So you got
Kyle Busch, man. He went full retro mode on them.
Yeah.
Ross said his favorite moment with the fans was Saturday night for the heats. He was behind Kyle and Justin watching Kyle push Justin around the track under caution. He said, there were a lot of number ones. I've seen it from the stands, and now I've seen it on the racetrack, and they weren't pointing them at me. So, honestly, I didn't see any other of the heat races after that because I was walking around the pits, and by the time I tried to go back to the media center, they were done.
Yeah. 2 and 3 were not much happened in them. And then 4 was closer to 1, but not quite.
Yeah. I know Priest dumped the hell out of John Hunter Nemechek in that one.
Yes. The heat race, heat racing in general is kind of hit or miss. I don't know. I've watched a bunch of sprint car races where nothing happened in any of the heats. it's what happens when you only put 8 or 10 cars out on the track. That's just how it is. So I don't know why I don't know what the reaction was, but I know a few people were like, that was a bummer. And I'm like, well, yeah, what did you expect? I mean, I guess they were probably better in LA. I guess I'll give 1 point to LA for having better heats in general. That's about it.
I think people have to stop and realize what the point of a heat race is.
Yeah.
Right? Like the point of the heat race is not the show.
Yeah.
The heat races, and that's why I don't care when heat races don't have any action. The point of the heat race is to set the starting lineup for the show. Well, guess what? They got to have a piece to race with.
Yeah.
They're not there to entertain. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. It's
just a part of the process.
Yeah. That's basically the best way I can think to put it.
Yeah.
It's just a procedural thing. There we go. To make the show happen. It's not supposed to be the show. So I don't really have a problem with them not being that great.
Yeah, I'm with Chuck, because when I was there on Saturday, I was just enjoying watching cars run around Bowman Gray Stadium. Watching Cup cars run around Bowman Gray Stadium. That was what I was there to do. Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. It was what it was. Now,
I do have one pet peeve with the weekend.
Okay.
I don't know if you were going to go into this or not. I think it's awesome that we had the modified race be part of the weekend. Does it have to be so far in advance of everything else?
Yeah.
Why on earth did it start at 1:45 with a 90-minute time limit?
Yeah.
Dude, start that thing at run practice first and then the mod race.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that make Bowman Gray. Why don't you want the NASCAR fans, the 60% that aren't from the area, to come in and get to see why we're here? I think if they come back next year or for an all-star race or whatever, they can't make that mistake again. They've got to integrate the local show more into the weekend, because it kind of just felt like they were kicking them out. Them haulers were out of the facility before Cup cars ever hit the racetrack.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the place wasn't packed, because it was packed. But I feel like get them more involved, whether it's a modified show or a late model show or whatever. They need to be more involved
More
in
integrated.
The beef of the schedule, not just kind of left out to dry.
All right. Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Last chance qualifier. We had the last chance qualifier was funny to me because just seeing the lineup, it looked like, the meme with the trashy house that's 200 square foot and it's got
and
a
then
fucking
the Lamborghini.
Yeah. Kyle Larson being in the last chance qualifier, that's what that looked like. And I thought it was hilarious. But anyway, I thought the race was really good.
He didn't race any different than the rest of the nutheads out there.
I mean,
he looked like one of them.
What else are you going to do? I mean, you got no choice, really. So, I don't know. I had a lot of fun with the LCQ. I don't know what else to add. I mean, it got stupid at points. It was good racing at points. It was a plenty Bowman Gray experience as far as I'm concerned.
Look, if you're in the business of stupid as fun in racing, an LCQ is always going to be your race.
Yes.
Because the LCQ is always going to be dumber than the main event.
Yeah.
Just for the simple fact of it means something to be in the show. It's you don't make it. It's damn. Yeah, all these guys are getting the spotlight, and I'm sitting back here in the pits just watching.
Especially if you're Kyle Larson.
Especially if you're Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Ty Gibbs. Fella had a time. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Fella had a time. He went from leading and looked like he was going to run away to how many times did he get turned around?
At least
4 or
3,
5?
I think. Yeah. 4 or 3. I'm not sure.
And then he put in his
Unfortunately-
application for 2311.
He put in his application for NASA.
I was gonna say because he took flight like Jordan.
Yeah.
But
The unfortunate thing about where we were sitting is the one thing we couldn't see was like basically the entry to 3 just because of like
you
the
didn't
awkward.
see that?
Yeah, we didn't see it.
Oh no!
I was
Dude.
I was basically looking right at it, but couldn't see it just because of the angle of
That
everything.
sucks.
Yeah,
that sucks so
We
bad.
saw it on the screen and we're like, oh,
What did he do?
shit. Holy
He did
shit.
what? That's great.
Yeah, so that was funny. Obviously the Burt Myers situation with Ricky Stenhouse, classic. I'll never forget that. That shit was hilarious. And then obviously the 3 leaders at the front with like 10 to go, halfway taking each other out, just going for it, was crazy.
In the LCQ?
Yeah, when Jones ended up wrecked.
Oh, that you're right.
Duh.
Yes, that
The
was
incident that tore up the 5 and the 21 and whomever else.
that was.
I thought they were all like
something.
done at that moment, and then somehow the 2 of them got through there. Like, okay, I don't know how, but
Yeah.
here we are. So
Austin Dillon hit about everything too.
yeah, and at one point I was concerned that Ty Dillon was going to make the race. I was like, oh god, I don't want that. And then he didn't. So thank God.
And then Austin cleaned him out for us.
Yeah, which was its own level of hilarious. So I don't know. I don't know what else you could ask for. If I'd have had to leave at that moment, like right as soon as that race was over, I would have been satisfied just at the level of entertainment that it was.
So only one thing, good old Fox thing.
Oh God.
They kept like talking about Ty Dillon as an RCR car. When they were talking about the RCR cars, they were listing Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, and Ty Dillon all night.
Yeah.
They were like, early in the feature, they were like, not a great night for RCR. Kyle Busch in the back, and Austin and Ty Dillon missed the show. I'm like, he's in a calling car. And it's not an RCR car. What are you waffling about, Mike? Then they said it like 5 times.
Yeah. I don't have anything for that. That's just sounds like Fox to me. So I don't know.
That it is.
All right. Now to the main event. Segment 1 was about what I expected. Not too crazy. Just the right amount of crazy, I would say. We did eventually get a battle for the lead. That was my only concern. I was going to be a little bit disappointed if Chase led every lap last night, just because it would be like, it was kind of the same thing with the All-Star race, even though I guess technically Logano didn't lead every lap because you can take the lead in the pit lane for some reason. I think they should count that at pit out, but whatever.
No, he got beat to the line on a restart.
Is that what it was?
Like the following lot, like when they came around, Denny beat him on one of the restarts.
Okay, never mind.
Because he was
Denny
the
to
pole
Chase.
sitter, so he at
we talking?
Wilkesboro last year, Joey was the pole sitter,
Yes.
so he had the first pit stall, so he could have lost the lead on pit road. It was
you're
Denny
right. Yeah.
on one of the restarts. Denny like got him off of 4 for a lap,
Oh, okay.
and then Joey got him right back.
Okay. All right, never mind. I forgot about that. But what point was I trying to make again? Oh,
You
yeah.
didn't want Chase to lead all 200 laps.
Yes. Just out of entertainment's sake, I thought it would have been obnoxious if the same guy led every lap. And then luckily we got a challenge from Denny Hamlin. And then Chase fell. Oh, I guess we're going to get in. Well, yeah. And then into the second segment, Chase fell back as far as what, 3rd or 4th at some point?
I think so.
Yeah. But came right back after they made some good adjustments on during the break and they came right back and held on from there. And then they got off the corner. As we established earlier, got off the corner a lot better than basically everybody.
I think he just, especially the first run too. Excuse me. I think they burned up their stuff really bad.
Yeah,
Because he was running out front. He was running out front the whole time, so he didn't have a gauge of what anybody else was doing.
Yeah.
And then eventually Denny and Reddick climbed up to him. I think that was just Lord. Excuse me. I think that was just him not knowing how hard to go and burning up his stuff a little bit. I'm sure they made adjustments, but
yeah,
I think that definitely helped.
Yep.
I was surprised the outside worked as well as it did.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the outside. No one really like made a pass on the outside, but I know I saw Ryan Blaney a bunch of times.
Hamlin did.
Like complete a pass.
He went to the outside of Tyler Reddick and passed him, and then went up and caught Chase Elliott.
Okay, I didn't notice that. So cool. What I saw Ryan Blaney do a lot was go to the outside in a corner to get enough momentum to cross under. I did see him do that a lot, and he made that work a bunch. Obviously, he started dead last, and he finished second, so he made that work a lot. I pretty much ended up watching the 12 car all night just because he was moving, and he was like the only guy really moving through the field like he was. So it was fun to watch him for sure. I wish he'd have tried in the LCQ, because I mean, honestly, if he'd had 2 extra spots, he might have won the damn race. You don't know, but it could have.
I'm going to disagree with that, because if he had made it to second in that LCQ, there would have been half a race car left.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but every car that was in the LCQ looked like they just went through a paper shredder.
Yeah. I remember seeing
out the other side on all 4 wheels.
I remember getting a good look at a few of them when they were parked on the backstretch after Burt Myers wrecked. So yeah, they were a mess.
The 2 that made the race were a mess. I don't even know how the 5 car was still running. He knocked the radiator in when Jones spun in front of it.
Yeah, I thought he was broke for a minute because they were pacing, and I know it's bumpy off of turn 4 and down the front stretch, but he was idling and bouncing down the straight, and I was like, is he broke? Did it look like they broke a axle or something? I don't know what happened there, but I don't know. Whatever they did, they fixed it, and he come out, and he was running with Blaney for a while in the main, and then got turned. Where was the first? He got turned the first time, right?
He got turned in the incident with Truex.
No,
Jesus, Briscoe.
Yeah,
I knew I was gonna do that.
Yeah.
Oh God, I haven't done it all weekend, and I just did it. Dadgummit.
Wait, was that the first one? I thought the first one
was the first one.
That was. I thought it was the. No, yeah, you're right. Well, okay, that was more his fault, to be fair, because he was trying to close the door on the 2 car of Kurt Busch, according to Chuck. I'm sorry, Rusty. I'm sorry, Dale Earnhardt. Apparently.
Oh boy,
Chuck going back to the 1980s over here.
I can't look back at that. I knew I was going to do it too, and I called myself all weekend.
Shit. All good, but you're not going to escape without getting ripped on by me. So, yeah. Anyway, so Kyle got turned by David Gravel. Okay, I'll stop now. I'll stop. It had to be done.
David Gravel returns to NASCAR just to dumb the shit out of Kyle Larson, since it's dangerous to do it in a sprint car.
Fair enough. I would understand. All right, so
respect the hustle.
Hocevar got ripped before that. Were there any other crazy wrecks that I can't remember? There weren't a bunch.
Byron got pinched in the outside wall and wrecked off of 4 right in front of Chase Elliott.
See, I didn't realize that was so. For some reason, I missed the fact that was right in front of Chase Elliott until this morning when I went back and watched the highlight reel. I was like, oh, shit, that was really close. But
yeah,
live, I didn't notice it.
I wasn't looking up. Like all of a sudden, they were like, "Oh, trouble!" in the media center, and I would because the track feed was on it.
Yeah,
we were on Chase, and I didn't realize. I thought Chase had turned it. or something. And then they showed it. Whoever, I think it was Todd, maybe.
I think.
They just completely fenced him.
Yeah.
I knew somebody was going to do that. Honestly, it happened way less than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I agree. When I saw the initial layout of the track, I was like, oh, it's going to be sketchy. But largely it worked out fine. People were pretty off of corners. They were pretty gracious with space. Entering corners, much less, but they did pretty good getting up off corners.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch got wrecked at least twice, right?
Yeah, at least twice.
Bro
he had himself a fun time.
He was a bunch of laps down, so every time the caution came out, he got one of his laps back.
He made sure to park his ass in the way in the closing laps with Blaney.
Him and every other Chevy. Anyway, we got PTSD from Martinsville, y'all.
Larson actually did a halfway decent job of getting out of the way.
Yeah, I think he did.
Kyle Busch was definitely the worst one because they were on board with him, so I saw it with Fox.
Yeah.
Dude, Kyle Busch, like, Blaney blew the corner right in front of him, so he went back by him.
Yeah.
And then he just didn't move again.
Yeah. I guess theoretically, in my mind, if I pull over to let a guy go and he fucks up and he doesn't get by me, then I'm like, all right, that's your fault, not mine.
Yeah, I guess I would not put it past Kyle Busch to be like, all right, you blew your opportunity, pal.
Yeah. But Blaney was like, I think he was like too nice with a lot of those guys too. Like, there were a bunch of guys he could have just run up the racetrack real quick and gotten the spot. And he was like, no, I'm going to be nice coming up off the corner, do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, bro, just hit him.
The way Chase was doing it was textbook.
Chase?
I think it was Gregson.
Yeah.
That they showed on TV. Like, he caught Noah into one.
Mm.
Hit him the first time he caught him. Hit him, knocked him up a groove and a half, and went by him. I was like, never slowed his momentum once. I was like, damn, that was like textbook. That's exactly how you do it right there.
Yeah, Chase in traffic was really good. I don't think there was a single time where he flubbed anything. Like, I don't think he didn't lose any more time than he absolutely had to being around a lap car. Yeah, which ultimately is the reason he won the race, I think, other than the fact that they were fast as hell. But
yeah,
you got to be able to get
fastest in practice, won the pole, won his heat race, won the race.
Yep.
Can't hate on it.
No, I mean,
best car won.
What are you supposed to say? I always come on here and say I want the best car to win most of the time, and that's exactly what happens. So
maybe we're breaking new ground in 2025.
Maybe.
No, we're not.
No,
we're not.
Can we get like 70% of the fastest cars to win?
Because Chandler Smith is going to win the Daytona 500 in the Carl Long car.
Yeah.
And we're going to be right back. We're going to be right back to racing the way it ought to be.
If that's the way racing ought to be, I'm going to go somewhere else. It's just not. It's not what we
Seth has an IndyCar show.
Shameless
push to pass plug.
Yes, shameless push to pass plug. And that's why we're going to be doing dirt content and all this other stuff. So it's not because
I don't want to make this a doomsday NASCAR thing though, because like they actually hit it out of the park with this.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the one weekend. I don't want to do that because I don't think they could have done a better job. Like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I was like, damn, if they'd have done this, it would have really sent the event to a new level. I just don't see one.
Look, if they wanted a heel moment, they could have gone on the radio and said, Ryan wrecked the absolute dog shit out of Chase Elliott on the last lap. And he could have just sent it off in there and Denny Hamlin could have won the race from third and the whole place would have booed and I don't know. They probably
the place would have been very upset, but it would have been very Bowman Gray. And I wanted it to happen.
Oh, they would have lit the place on fire.
There was part of me that wanted it to happen. And the other part of me was like, nope, Chase deserves this. And then like the little devil over here was like, yeah, but like if he did it
was fun.
What if he did it though? And I'm like, yeah, I know. But like, let's just get to the end of it. No, okay. The one thing I did was I was surprised by it because the official wording, I know for a fact the official wording in the All-Star race is that it has to end under green, correct? Or have they switched that since the ridiculousness that happened in 22?
Nice catch.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's still a rule.
Yeah.
Don't hold me to it, but I think that's
the LCQ ended under caution, and for a moment, I thought we were going to rack them up and go again. Maybe that was just me. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they were tired of wrecking the LCQ.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not upset that we didn't go again in the LCQ, but I was just surprised. Why is it a rule that way in one non-points event and in another non-points event? It's not like that.
We need to call in the expert, Peter Strada.
Yeah, that's true. I'll have to ask Peter at some point. I don't know. It's an interesting thing that I had not thought of until it happened. And I see Ty Gibbs spinning out for the umpteenth time over in turn 4, and I'm like, okay, caution. Are we going? Nope, there's the checkered flag. Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on, but
Ty Gibbs had enough.
I don't know. Do we got a lot out?
I think that's honestly it.
Yeah, pretty much. Shout out to Jordan Stahl, Jordan Martinook, and Seth Jarvis for being super cool after the race and taking pictures of people. Those are Carolina Hurricanes players, if y'all are not aware. So shout out to them. Jalen Chatfield, another Carolina Hurricanes player, was also there, but I did not see him afterwards, so I'm not sure where he was at. But shout out to those guys for being super cool and coming out and enjoying it. I mean, I think they're all Canadians, so it's. We talked about that international reach. Bring in some Canadians. You got a bunch of them that hang out in Raleigh, so invite them over when you can.
Yeah, I think
get some Finns out next time, though.
Yeah,
too, as well.
As far as us doing NASCAR stuff, I guess it's just going to be when something really cool happens or something really stupid happens.
Yeah, it'll be. We'll play it by ear this year.
One way or another, we'll get up on our soapbox when needed.
Yeah, we have no shortage of soapboxes to get on. And when we feel like it, we will hop right up on that baby. So
especially Seth, he's short. He needs the soapbox.
I am short, especially compared to all those hockey players in the picture. So if you enjoyed this, leave a like. If you did not enjoy this, leave a dislike. Let us know in the comments what you think. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. I don't care. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Be aware, again, we will not only be talking about NASCAR, and it will not even be all the time. So we'll see you around when we see you. Bye, Gary.